A common question I used to get when doing live stop smoking programs or smoking prevention programs was, is it safer to smoke cigars or pipes rather than cigarettes? This was before there was all these other devices out there, the vaping devices, and even before nicotine replacement for the most part, or inhalers, or just all these different ways we have of getting nicotine into the body now. People just were often asking, are cigars and pipes safer than cigarettes? Now, I did two kinds of programs. I did smoking prevention programs where I was trying to reach people who were generally probably kids, sometimes adults, but usually kids before they were smokers. And they would ask that question. That would often be my daytime program. Then in my evening program, which would have been a stop smoking clinic, I would have a bunch of adults ask the exact same question. So often, in the span of one day, I would get that question in two distinctly different groups with the exact same question. The problem was I had to give two different answers depending on who the group asking me was. If it was kids who have never smoked a cigarette in their life, never smoked a cigar or pipe in their life, sometimes who basically said to me in the programs that they had no interest in smoking cigarettes, they hated smoking cigarettes, they were thinking maybe when they got older they might smoke cigars or pipes, and that's generally because they had a parent who was a cigar or pipe smoker who didn't smoke cigarettes, and they just wanted to know, was that safer? And sometimes they would ask the question with great specificity for kids because they would say that they don't want to smoke, they hate smoking, they know they're never going to smoke, but they're thinking of smoking a cigar or pipe, and they understand that they're not going to inhale it because their parent doesn't inhale it, and they want to know if they smoke just like that, is it safer? Well, if anybody asked me that question with that specificity, who was a never smoker, my answer was, well, yeah, it's safer. Okay. But before I went very much further, I'd said, but you better understand my definition of safer. If you just smoke a cigar or a pipe, you just puff on them. You're not going to smoke them often. They would say they were only going to smoke on special occasions or on sporting events or something like that. They would sometimes ask with surprising specificity. If they were just to smoke like that, their odds of and they stick to the plan that and they never do inhale, their odds of getting lung cancer was really much lower than that of what would be a cigarette smoker. They don't bring much in their lung. Their risk of cardiovascular effects are not real high. So that means it's safer. But these people of who do this often have higher risks of cancer, like of the mouth, the lip, the tongue, the throat. What they do, people who just smoke cigars and pipes but who don't inhale, but they concentrate the tar from these products on these, specific area, the mouth, the lip, the tongue, swallowing some, the throat. They had a higher risk in some cases of cancer of those sites than cigarette smokers do. Well, oh, wait, why am I saying something is safer if they may have a higher risk of cancer of these different parts? Well, I would explain. If you get cancer in your lip or your tongue, well, those are kind of easy to see. Uh, they would often be diagnosed. When you go to a dentist, they would sometimes see these things. These were cancers that often could be caught in early stages. And then, if you find a cancer in the mouth or your lip or your tongue, well, you can take part of the lip off and you can get part of your tongue out. You can even get cancer sometimes in your throat, and it can be seen by tests that are relatively easy, and we could cure you. We could save your life. Now, that's why I want them to understand what I mean by safer. You're still getting diseases which might kill you, but these were diseases that were, kind of treatable. They could be disfiguring, they could be dangerous. They, in some cases, could kill the people, but often we could cure them. When you start bringing the smoke into your lung and you get a cancer in your lung, well, back at that time, it's not like it's really great now, but back in that time, lung cancer was almost a death sentence where people just almost had no chance of getting cured. It was a very low chance of survivability. The reason being it was really hard to detect. By the time most cancers would show up on a routine x-ray, if you're going for an x-ray as a screening, it had to be over a quarter inch in diameter. There were basically having to be a million cells there before an x-ray was going to pick it up. And that's if you were lucky enough to get it in the very early stage. Most people got it were dying from it. And then the other conditions that would be caused by smoking, the sudden death from heart attack, and more people died from heart attack than from cancer. So with those types of inhaling products that can cause cancers in areas where we couldn't see them, we couldn't treat them, and also causing other diseases that, strokes and heart disease that can result in instant death, those are much more dangerous. All right, but I did really want them to understand that safer, and safe are very, very different terms. All right, so that's how I would deal with youth when I was addressing the issue. Now, if I'd get the exact same question in a smoking clinic that later that evening from a person who was quitting smoking, but they were thinking maybe they were going to smoke cigars and pipes in the future or just play around with cigars and pipes, and maybe they even heard at one point I told kids that it's safer. If they asked me if it was safer, my answer was no, it's more dangerous. And I'm telling the truth to both groups. Why is it more dangerous? Because these are people who are already addicted to nicotine. These are people who, if they take a cigar or pipe after they quit, one of two things are going to happen. They are likely either to relapse back to cigarette smoking, because once they absorb the nicotine through their mouth, they're hooked again. They have now put nicotine back in their system, and they have to inhale a product. So they're either going back to smoking to get the amount of nicotine they need, or they're going to start to inhale the cigar or pipe. And that is where it's more dangerous, because cigar and pipe smoke is stronger, has higher concentration of the cancer-causing chemicals. They are more dangerous if inhaled than cigarettes were. And these are people who could inhale cigars and pipes because of the damage they've done as smokers and wiping out the nerve cells in their throat, in their lungs. They can inhale. And while it might hurt a little, it is not going to hurt as much as it would hurt a never smoker who tried to inhale a cigar or pipe, who would floor them. These people could become inhalers of cigars and pipes, and that makes them more dangerous. So smoking a cigar or pipe to a former smoker is basically relapsing back to an addiction they already have. And if they then go on to inhale that product, they are more dangerous than cigarettes. The only way to make cigars or pipes or cigarettes or electronic cigarettes or vaping devices, the only way to make these products safe is to not use these products. The only way. And again, can you find ways of trying to deliver it safer? You can try, but they're generally going to backfire. They're going to turn you into smokers again, and you're going to be stuck with the original problem. Or again, in the case of cigars or pipes, you're going to develop a more serious problem if they are now your route of delivery of inhalation. The way to break free from nicotine and stay free from the addiction of taking an active grip and the dangers of that addiction. The only way is to finally make and stick to a personal commitment to never take another puff